I don't feel invaded. It's all right.
That's the official stuff.
That is the tap.
When Senator Collins approaches the bus. Good morning, everybody. It's good to see you and have you with us this morning. This is a meeting of the Senate Ag Committee, and we haven't got many more in January. We'll be back next month. That's the 30th of January. So it's great. We got folks in from the SNAP program, and I got you folks listed on the schedule, but sometimes things kind of get out of order. So is there a particular way that you'd like to have witnesses come up?
Well, I am standing in for John Sales today, so that I'll go first, and then I believe we have a person joining on Zoom. So whenever Corey is ready, I think we'll let Corey go second. And then we'll have Joanna from NOFA and Sherry from the Brattleboro Winter Farmers Market. Does that sound like a good order, Chair Star?
Sounds great to me.
Great, okay.
So, good morning and very welcome to the committee, and as well, you've testified before, and sometimes we're good listeners and sometimes we butt in and say, hey, I got a question on that. So, we run that kind of like a little conversation, and if you've had questions of us, certainly, ask. Yep. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm Carrie Staylor. I live in Linden, Vermont, and I work for the Vermont Food Bank. And I am going to try and take as little of your time today as possible so that our friends who have joined us for SNAP Awareness Day can give you their testimony and help you understand all of the different ways that SNAP touches our communities. We were here last year to speak to you, but I will give you the reminder of what SNAP is, because it's a complicated federal program that we're really fortunate to be able to take advantage of here in Vermont. SNAP stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and it's actually called Three Squares Vermont here in Vermont. The government lets every state choose its own adventure and name it itself. Here in Vermont, it's administered by the Department for Children and Families Economic Services Division. We work closely with them. The food bank has its own SNAP application assistance and outreach program. And so some of my colleagues work directly with individuals and communities across the state to work through the complicated SNAP application process. Vermont is actually one of the better states to have SNAP benefits in. The federal limit on SNAP benefits is 130% of the federal poverty level. Vermont allows for 185% gross income. And then there are a number of deductions that if people net down to 130%, they're eligible for the program, but it's a process.
You know what does that equal out at in dollars, 185?
It's about $55,000 per year for a family of 4, or about $4,625 per month. And it is judged on a per month basis. And if people's income goes above that in a month, they are no longer eligible for those benefits and need to reapply.
For that month or for the whole year?
For the month. Yeah, so people drop on and off the SNAP program if they're at that income limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is part of the complicated factor.
Yeah, I would think, I could see if they were over for a couple of months. Then they have to reapply.
Yeah, they have to reapply.
So there must be paperwork involved, and
it is a complicated application process. It is many, many, many pages with lots of detailed information about household income and expenses. Very little invasive, we'll call it, for people who, to just receive food, essentially. SNAP benefits can only be used on food items. They are not eligible for household products, hygiene products, and at this time, you cannot use them to buy hot prepared food So the rotisserie chicken in the grocery store that's pre-cooked, that's, $7, it's easy dinner for everyone. You cannot use SNAP benefits to buy that because it is considered hot food and there's a little line in the federal statute that says this may not be used for hot prepared meals. We are working with our federal delegation to try and have that removed as part of the Farm Bill reauthorization process.
The other day, they were $4.59 at the store.
We'll all be coming to your groceries.
No, it's good.
In Vermont, 3 Squares serves about 68,000 people in about 40,000 households. So it is a really broadly used program and a lot of people access these benefits. A household who's at that upper threshold of about, 185% of the federal poverty level will receive the minimum benefit. So for a household of one, that's $23 a month, which is not many of those chickens or anything else. But it is something. And so part of what we're bringing to you today are requests related to both SNAP benefits and the programs that are filling those gaps for people. And there are a few. So the food bank is requesting $5 million in base funding through the appropriations process to help fill those gaps for people who receive SNAP and also those who are not eligible for this program to receive food at their local food shelves and food pantries. The area agencies on aging are requesting $2 million in base funding for the Meals on Wheels program, which provides prepared meals. SNAP can't be used to purchase prepared meals. And a lot of older adults rely on that program for home delivered prepared meals. So that is a complementary program where people could use their SNAP benefits.
So they can't use them now for home delivered meals?
There is no home delivery meals option for SNAP, but hold on to your hat. I've got a little more information. The S-15 bill was just introduced in Senate Health and Welfare by Senator Ruth Hardy. And that seeks to establish a restaurant meals program for 3 Squares Vermont here. And it would direct the state agency, the Department for Children and Families Economic Services Division, to introduce a transition plan to increase the SNAP minimum benefit and to hire a position that would create this restaurant meals program for the state. It's a federal option that Vermont has not taken advantage of yet. So we do have the opportunity to create the option program in Vermont, but it requires some capacity and infrastructure in DCF to do that work. And that would allow people to purchase prepared meals from participating restaurants, and it would establish the rules and access to that program.
So those, we don't know then how it would work because they haven't developed the rules.
No, and it's just in bill form in S-15. So hopefully.
We would develop the rules if we were given that option. For the
Yes,
state.
we as a state, yes, the state, and we would have to decide, is there a position that's part of ESD? Are there other agencies that are involved in that because it involves restaurants? So would ACCD be involved? There are some details that need to be worked out as part of that. And Senator Hardy is the best one to talk to about those options in that program.
And the amount of, what would the feds pay on something if we were allowed and we got the option? Is there a maximum dollars spent or?
It would allow people to use their SNAP benefits that they currently receive in a different way. So there's no additional federal funding for that, but it gives people the flexibility that they need to purchase a restaurant or prepared meal if they are unable to, cook for themselves. And there's lots of reasons why people need that prepared option. And actually Sherry has some good examples of that for her farmer's market, allowing people to purchase prepared food there. And then the fourth request, which also relates to farms and farmers markets, is that NOFA is requesting $478,500 in base funding to support the Crop Cash and Farm Share program. And that is a way for people to utilize their SNAP benefits and have those benefits be matched by Crop Cash so that they can purchase more from local farms and local vendors at their own farmers markets. And one of the challenges that we run up against, if you're thinking about those folks who receive $23, is that that's not going to go very far at a local farmers market, but the farmers at those markets need to be paid and receive money for the food they're growing. This is a program that helps to bridge that gap to allow low-income Vermonters to have the same access to locally grown, nutritious Vermont food. And those are sort of the main requests in front of you, and I'm gonna basically step out of the way and let my friends who've joined me today explain a little bit more.
But before you do, what's the current funding, base funding for both the food bank and the Meals on Wheels program?
The food bank receives no money in base funding. We have
Okay.
received one-time appropriation.
So you want 5 million there, and
Yes.
what about Meals on Wheels?
Meals on Wheels received 1 million in base funding last year, and that they're asking for 2 total.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, any other questions from committee members?
No, thank you all for your time, and I'm gonna stay here and can help answer questions.
Yep,
But I will allow folks to go next. If Linda, is Corey signed on?
Yes, she is.
Okay, great. So Corey will join us next.
Here she comes.
good morning, can you hear us?
Hello, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Perfect. Okay, Senator Starr, should I go ahead?
pardon?
Shall I go ahead with my testimony?
Yes, welcome, and, our time is your time.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you all for hearing my perspective today. My name is Corey Froning. My pronouns are she, her. I live in Richmond, Vermont, and I'm a farmer, a social worker, and a University of Vermont graduate student. I'm working to open an on-farm therapy practice where people can incorporate movement on the land, such as walking or gardening, as a part of their therapy. While I am a student, putting my time and money towards developing this necessary community health resource, Three Squares is supporting me to nourish myself until I graduate and am able to secure an income again. When I moved to Vermont in 2017, I worked in various social work positions, including at Spectrum, Centerpoint School, and Steps to End Domestic Violence, while farming on the weekends. During this time, I was working 50 hours per week for less than a living wage and was just able to cover my expenses. The pace and financial stress affected me mentally and physically. I experienced daily chest pain and heart palpitations. When COVID hit, I transitioned from full-time social worker to full-time farmer at Bread and Butter Farm. With a fairly standard farm salary of $20,000 per year, I saw this shift as an investment in my mental and physical health. At Bread and Butter, I had access to the most nutrient-dense food: dark leafy greens, grass-fed meat, fresh herbs. But I still struggled to pay my bills, including my grocery bill. While farmers have access to beautiful local food, they still need to purchase most of their staples. Staples in my kitchen that I do not produce include rice, oil, peanut butter, bread, dairy, nuts, chickpeas, lentils, coffee, etc. While I am fortunate to have local greens and meat in my own backyard, the monetary value of that food does not make up for the low wages that I and many farmers face. I still struggle to afford grocery staples. Three Squares and Vermont food access programs, such as Crop Cash, Farm Share, and Meals on Wheels, not only support farmers by giving recipients economic power to access their local food, but also supports farmers with low incomes to feed themselves and keep doing their crucial work. In 2021, I started the Farm Upstream LLC with 4 business partners. For 3 seasons, we leased land and grew vegetables. Our goal was to get established, create sustainable systems, form relationships, and break even while we searched for affordable land. The farmland outlook was bleak, with few farms for sale in our area, and most selling for $1 million or more. Though it wasn't on the market, we had our eyes on an old dairy farm in Jericho with 20 acres of agricultural soil and a stream. It was perfect for what we imagined, a community fruit and vegetable farm with an on-farm therapy practice. In 2023, last year, after years of financial planning, collaboration, and fundraising, The farm upstream bought and conserved that farm in Jericho with the support of the Vermont Land Trust and the Jericho Underhill Land Trust. In the fall of 2023, this past fall, I also began the University of Michigan Master of Social Work program in pursuit of becoming a licensed independent clinical social worker with the ability to open my own on-farm therapy practice. This has been an enormous financial undertaking. In order to invest in my future, I'm in a full-time graduate program that requires 2 years of unpaid internship on top of the course load. The required unpaid 2-year internship is ubiquitous across U.S. Masters of Social Work programs, and it is what kept me from pursuing this Master of Social Work for so long. This requirement means that I only have time to work a part-time job 1 day per week, which earns me only $500 each month. With a mortgage to pay, $45,000 owed in tuition, a loss of income, it is impossible to cover my expenses, including groceries. I have been reliant on my business partners for support during this time, which is a part of our resilient collaborative model, but I cannot rely on them for everything or for too long. I applied for 3 Squares when I started school in September, before I knew what this new financial stress would feel like. I am so grateful I applied and for the support that 3 Squares offers me to take one financial worry off my plate and put food on my table while I invest in my education, my future, and my community. 3 Squares offers physical and mental relief when I go to the grocery store, and I know that I can feed myself while I am in school. I know that many of my classmates, fellow farmers, and clients alike could benefit from this relief of not being physically stressed about feeding themselves, especially when both farmers and social workers are trying to help nourish others. 3 Squares is a crucial program. It supports people like me to feed ourselves and make ends meet in times of transition. My request is for you to support the food bank's campaign, Give SNAP a Boost, which will expand eligibility for students. Current college and graduate student eligibility guidelines are prohibitive. Many students, even when they are unable to feed themselves, are not eligible. I am lucky to have fallen within eligibility guidelines, but I want you to know that many of my peers who are also struggling to make ends meet are not eligible. We all deserve to nourish ourselves and to be able to go to the grocery store without crippling stress and anxiety. The Give SNAP a Boost campaign would ensure that more Vermont students are well fed and can better focus their attention on their education and their future. Thank you for listening and for your consideration. I recognize I shared a lot of complex information, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Corey. Questions from committee? Could you elaborate a little on, you said you had some friends that would not qualify. Is there a particular issue that in the regulations, or is it they earn too much or too little, or why don't they qualify?
Sure. Carrie might be able to answer this question better, but the answer that I can give is that from my perspective, the regulations around qualifications for 3 Squares for students are quite dated. And my understanding is that they make the assumption that if you have enough money to go to college, that you have enough money to pay your bills, including your grocery bill. But we all know that's not the case, right? I am a in-state University of Vermont student, and I'm going to have $45,000 of debt. Specifically for college students and graduate students, there is a 20 hours per week work requirement in order to qualify for 3 Squares. And that work requirement, the requirements around that are really strict as well. So any work that is related to the university or is an internship or a work study does not count towards those 20 hours a week work requirement. So yeah, I mean, most students that I know cannot afford to work 20 hours a week as a full-time student on top of work, study, and internship. It's just not doable.
Not enough hours in a week,
Right.
and must be you'd have to work, you know, a certain number of hours besides your work study, to qualify. Is that a federal requirement or a state requirement?
So it is a federal rule that students must work 20 hours a week, but the state of Vermont has chosen to interpret that rule that it applies to all students. There are other states who have interpreted that rule so that it does not apply to students who are doing qualified job training or work training. So part of S215 has an element to it that would encourage the state administration to take a looser interpretation of that, not really a looser interpretation of that rule, like a reinterpretation of that rule that would give more students access to SNAP benefits. And that is something that the state administration can do on their own without any legislative requirements or any federal waivers.
I would think, you know, if your work study requires you to do 20 hours of work or whatever it is, if you could bump that to 20, that would be part of all. But
Chair Starr, you are coming up against some of the illogical nature of the rules around this program. And some of the rules and functions of SNAP don't necessarily make logical sense. I do have some information about the Give 3 Squares a Boost campaign in the folder, and that has some more details that might be helpful to you. And Hunger Free can really answer all of the details, and I'm happy to connect you with Teddy, and you can have that conversation with he and his team. I'm like the 15,000 foot view.
yeah. And are there any questions from members? No. And you might wonder maybe why I'm asking these questions is because eventually that issue is going to come up in our afternoon committee. And, you know, we could make recommendations to the money committee, which a couple of us sit on. So it might all work, you know. This is, you know, this is a crazy place, isn't it? How you get things done. Well, thank you, Corey, and good luck to you.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for your testimony.
And Joanna, next. Morning.
Good morning, thank you. Thank you, Chair Starr, for having us here today. My name is Joanna Doran. I live in Winooski, and I'm the local food access coordinator with the Northeast Organic Farming Association of Vermont, also known as NOFA Vermont. Today, I'm here to talk about how SNAP is important in making sure that dollars are spent locally and connecting low-income Vermonters with farmers. And specifically our crop cash program and farm share program that we run at NOFA help connect SNAP recipients with local farmers. I'm going to try to leave enough time for Sherry to talk about how Crop Cash operates specifically at her farmers market, but I'll give a brief overview of the program. And our main ask is for the legislature to support NOFA Vermont's request for $478,500 in base funding for the Crop Cash and Farm Share programs. At NOFA, I coordinate these programs, which both provide financial assistance for low-income Vermonters to purchase local food directly from farmers. These statewide programs are truly a win-win because with every dollar that we provide to a Vermonter who might not be able to purchase local food otherwise, that dollar goes directly into a local farmer's pocket. So in that way, these programs support food security and provide a reliable, fair price for farmers' products. The Crop Cash program doubles Three Squares Vermont or SNAP benefits when they're used at farmers markets, so that SNAP recipients can get even more food at the farmers market. Through a one-time legislative appropriation in 2023, we were able to expand the Crop Cash program, which is typically only able to be used to purchase produce. We expanded that program to be able to purchase any SNAP eligible food. So folks could spend their Three Squares Vermont dollars at farmers markets and get extra coupons to spend on things like dairy, proteins, eggs, things that make a full diet.
Is that how the double works out, with getting double from your SNAP program?
Yeah, so someone can go to a farmer's market, spend $1 of SNAP, and then they would get an additional $1 of Crop Cash to spend on produce. And this past year, we were able to give them another $1 to spend on any other SNAP eligible food at the market. So
Spend $1 and you get two.
exactly.
That's a good, especially for the guy the person that only gets 20 odd dollars.
You're exactly right. So it's basically tripling the amount of dollars that they receive from the SNAP program. And people had the same reaction that you did. They loved this program. Once folks realized that they could actually, purchase food at farmers markets, it made it worth it for them to spend their SNAP dollars locally rather than going to Walmart or a large, supermarket. So this program was so popular for both SNAP recipients and for farmers who were receiving that money that we used up all of our funding in just 5 months, and we had planned for that program to last all year. So of course, that was an incredibly hard thing to do, to pause the program after just 5 months. But we were able to basically triple the amount of dollars that was circulating across farmers markets throughout the state through the Crop Cash and the additional Crop Cash Plus program. It also encouraged more SNAP recipients to use their dollars at farmers markets. So we also heard from vendors at farmers markets that these programs were really incredible for them, particularly after the flooding in July. These were really important for maintaining a viable income. Some vendors even said that Crop Cash, the new Crop Cash Plus pilot program, the one that allowed folks to use their coupons on meat, dairy, eggs, that helped some vendors that sell those products add an additional up to 20% of their income at farmers markets. So the issue here is that Crop Cash is the way that it usually works by just funding produce, is federally funded, and it's restricted in what those coupons can be used for. And the one-time appropriation that we got to pilot the Crop Cash Plus program was one time. So we have seen how effective these programs are for increasing food security and for farm viability. And so we need state funds to allow us to continue the Crop Cash Plus program and to help us keep Crop Cash at the level that it's at. So because it's federally funded, the grant that we receive funds through requires a local match. So for every $1 the federal government gives us, we need to provide $1 as well.
Thank you.
And can you use like our appropriations for that dollar?
That's a really good question. We could use that appropriation if we did not expand the program to be able to be purchased, be able to be purchasing food other than produce. So if we just kept the program the same and said, to SNAP recipients, you can't use these dollars to buy food other than vegetables and fruits, then that would have been a different situation, but we felt really strongly that it's important to expand the program to be able to fulfill a whole diet need and to support the agricultural vendors that provide those products. So we are, looking to philanthropy to provide the match funding. And that, of course, limits the amount of the federal dollars that we can ask for because we can only ask for as much as we can raise.
And can you separate the expanded part of the program from the regular program, so you could use all the donated money to match the new stuff and use state money to match?
In a way, yeah, if we do receive state funding again, we can use it to match. But it's currently not in the governor's budget, and so we need for it to be included in the Senate and House budget matches to be able to use that as match and to continue the Crop Cash Plus program, like you were saying.
I would think that, I'd sit here all day and trade $1 for 3.
Me as well.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yes, and 2 out of those $3 is typically federal. So the SNAP dollars are coming from the federal government, and then the federal Crop Cash dollars that we're trying to draw down more of, which would be helped out by state dollars doing that. So I'm gonna kind of wrap up here, so Chair can get in a few words, but we just are very committed to these programs, Crop Cash and Farm Share, and we know that the dollars that are invested into these programs have a dual impact. They, again, support food security for Vermonters, and they support farm viability by making sure that farmers are paid for those products. So thank you so much for your time, and I can take any questions that you have.
Do you have no extra questions? Well, thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you.
So, Sherry? More.
Thank you, Senator Starr and committee for hearing my testimony today. My name is Sherry Marr and I live in Athens in Wayne County. I co-manage the Brattleboro Winter Farmers Market and have long sat on the Vermont Farmers Market Association board for the VTFMA. I'm also a volunteer Meals on Wheels driver in Grafton and Athens. In that role, I've seen the types of extreme need and poverty that some of my neighbors live in, and I know that what I see there is only the tip of the iceberg. But it's from my seat with the farmers market and my work with the VTFMA board that I'm here to address you today for SNAP Awareness Day. I urge you to support especially the request that Joanna was just speaking about in terms of NOFA's request for that base funding for Crop Cash Plus and the Farm Share program, as well as the other requests that are being put forward to you today by the food bank. And having heard Corey's testimony, S215 sounds like it really needs to be made more logical and sensible. So we're an indoor farmers market that began in 2006, the Brattleboro Winter Farmers Market. We operate weekly from November through March. And since the 2019-2020 season, which as you recall was the just before COVID really hit, we've seen an increase of 150% of SNAP transactions at our farmers market. We have many new customers, but we have many long-term customers who are on food assistance, many families with young children, many are seniors, and many have health challenges. They greatly value their access to more nutritious local food and the relationships that they have forged with our local producers at the farmers market. over these 4 years, the SNAP dollars at our market have increased by 119%. Meaning that federal funds circulating in our community longer. And when combined with the SNAP incentive, and that was just the SNAP dollars, that would increase by 119%. So when you combine that with the SNAP incentives, like Joanna was just talking about, turning 10 into 30, we've seen a total dollar increase of 408%. It's translated into $49,606 of buying power over just 20 Saturdays last season, putting more local food on the tables of local families and more income for the farmers and producers in our market, contributing to the health of the community and the vitality of our farms and small food businesses. While we celebrate the growth of food access at our market, we've also recognized that it's a potential threat should it suddenly disappear. And Joanna and I agonized over that reality come this past November when we were informed and then had to inform our SNAP community that as of December 1st, that 3 for 1 was no longer going to be available.
That's because you ran out of money.
That's because the Crop Cash program that Joanna was just talking about and the Crop Cash Plus ended. Our market, however, has its own equivalent of the Crop Cash Plus that we had begun a number of years ago, which actually served as a model for Crop Cash Plus. So at our market at that point, rather than 1 becoming 3, we were still able to give our customers 1 to become 2. And then we actually went out and raised more money to try and replace the Crop Cash. So we are currently still offering 1 becomes 3 at our market, thanks to, again, philanthropy and support, Food Bank and Vermont Community Foundation and others. So what I'd like to share with you now is some of the responses that we got when we asked our SNAP community for their feedback with this. And so these are quotes that we received from customers that week after the news came down. One customer wrote, "Not long ago, my EBT benefits dropped and I needed to rebudget. I was counting on the farmers market coupons, which have varied also, and now I hardly know how to manage." Another one said, "Please, please, please reinstate Crop Cash. Inflation is causing me to run out of EBT early, and the coupons have helped so much." Another, "It can take a lot of anxiety away knowing that I can get healthy food, healthy local food." Another one, "As a mentally and physically disabled individual, Crop Cash falls only behind SSI, SSDI, and EBT in supporting my wellness. It makes it financially viable as well as motivating me to go to the farmer's market, which I otherwise could not afford. Crop Cash provides me with physical nourishment and the intangible benefit of allocating these funds to my market community. I'm validated by this participation. Even in my hardest, darkest times, it affords me the access to life-supporting goodness. Please support this program." The Crop Cash boosts my family's EBT and makes money, and that money makes an enormous difference. It means I can afford to buy local and organic for my kids and support local farmers, which is crucial. With the Crop Cash, I'm much less likely to run out of grocery money each month. And it is an incentive that inspires many low-income families to spend the time and the gas to go to the market when they otherwise would not. It has a huge impact on our community, families, and farms alike. Please, please, please don't cut Crop Cash. And so I would urge you to support the requests being put forth today. And I really want to underscore that the matching dollars that go through the programs that NOFA is speaking about are, I see them as a triple win. They put more healthy food on local tables, they support the local farmers and producers, and they stay in the local community and the local economy. Adequate nutritious food is critical to healthy bodies, healthy families, and healthy communities. And the more that can be local, the more we all win. So I thank you for your time today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that I can.
Right?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm just curious, this is a winter farmer's
It
market.
is,
So it sounds like it's set up a little differently. I'm from Rutland County.
Mhm.
And although vendors might switch around, whether it's outside or inside, the structure of it is the same in Rutland year round. Is there a summer market in Brattleboro?
There is, and our market is a separate entity in Brattleboro, and we have a great relationship with the summer market, but when I'm involved with a nonprofit grassroots sustainability group. And when we started talking in 2005 about the idea of an indoor market, same year that Rutland, I think, well, they began in 2006, I believe, as did we. When we began talking about that year, the summer market in Brattleboro was very involved with purchasing land and some other things, and they just didn't have the capacity. So they said to our nonprofit group, go ahead.
I see.
And that's why we were able to also then create the program, because we could take the donations and grants for what we call our Boost Your Bread program. And we've gotten a lot of support from the Vermont Food Bank to keep that going since that 2021 season, when we really needed to struggle to survive the market as well as to feed our community.
So is there overlap, like yours ends and theirs begins the next weekend, or is,
Theirs ends at the end of October, ours begins the first week of November.
okay,
Ours ends the last week of March. They all get a month off in April, and then they start up again outside in May.
thank you.
You're very welcome.
Irene?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I heard earlier that hot food wasn't allowed to be purchased. Do some of these vendors offer hot food that
You know,
are
it's-
off limits? Or is it from a farmer, so it counts as crop kind of shot?
It
Kind of figure out where the bounds are.
Right, and it's a great question. Thank you for asking. With the SNAP dollars and the front cash dollars, it is off limits. The money that we've raised through the Boost Your Bread program, again, with the support of the food bank and others. And it was actually the food bank that directed us in this path. We have allowed hot food to be purchased in our market with that, and I'll tell you, the appreciation from so many people is amazing. And we've also, as you know, we've had a lot of people that were living in hotels through a period of time, and they could come to the farmer's market and get a good hot local meal, which was really so gratifying for them. It was really wonderful.
Yeah.
So thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Did you see a drop in your people at farmers markets because of the flooding or shortage of any kind of foods to be able, so SNAP people could buy it at farmer market?
We haven't seen that so much in terms of crops available at our market. We didn't open until November, so the flooding wasn't so much of a factor for us. I'm sure that summer markets, and I know from the producers at our market that there were crops that were affected, and I know one of my primary producers had said that his summer produce was maybe half of what he's had before for farmers markets because of the impact of the flooding.
Yeah.
And he's on high flat land where, flooding wasn't a huge problem for him as it was for others, so. Yeah, it was a big impact. But another part of your question in terms of the impact of I thought you were gonna ask me actually about the impact of the disappearance of the crop cash. And we did start to see that within the first week of December. And then because we scrambled and were able to raise more money and then start to get the word out, we're slowly seeing our SNAP customers getting the word and coming back to get their one becomes free for our market.
That's a good deal.
It is. It is, and it's fun to be the person to tell that to a new customer that comes.
Yeah,
in.
sure.
Yeah,
A lot easier
Not
to
only you get,
make
yeah,
that call than the one earlier.
you can spend 10 and we'll give you 30. Yeah, it's a treat.
No, it must make a huge difference.
It does.
For the individuals.
It makes a huge difference for the individuals and it makes a huge difference for the farmers and producers that
Now,
are.
can they buy meat, locally grown meat? And
With the matching funds that we've raised and with the Crop Cash Plus that NOFA was offering this summer, yes, they can buy meat, they can buy eggs, they can buy maple syrup, they can buy honey. They can buy bread,
just no hot meals.
Right.
And that's kind of, well, hot meals, I mean, roasted chicken, I mean, you can get quite a few meals out of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whole chicken.
I know, and that again goes to the logic that you were hearing about from
Yeah.
Carrie, that's not a meal, that's a chicken.
Yeah.
That happens to be hot that you can take home and
But it's
serve up.
pretty easy to throw a couple of potatoes in.
Exactly, to make it a meal.
Yeah, and a veggie and you're good to
Absolutely
go.
right.
Yeah. Irene?
So what's the logic behind that? That they just don't want people going into McDonald's and using SNAP? I mean, how did we get there?
My understanding is that the antiquated logic is this idea that federal dollars should be spent through this program so that people can get ingredients that they then cook at home. And I think, as we all know, that's not possible for everyone. Like people living in hotels and motels who don't have a working kitchen, who may be disabled and can't cook, but still need to eat food. So it's a very antiquated logic. That's unfortunately still the regulation.
I would tend to add, I think there's some stigma attached to that limitation that about work and about being able to go out to eat out in a restaurant. Is maybe not something that someone who is needing food benefits should be able to access.
Well, I could understand that to a point.
To a point, exactly.
But if somebody had roast chicken at the farmer's market.
Yeah.
I mean, they might cook beef or pork, on a rotisserie.
Exactly.
It seems like that would improve the diet of individuals, and maybe, make them healthier. I mean, you can buy your veggies now, I noticed on TV out of a jar. You've seen that, where you can buy your veggies, and if you buy 2 of them, you get something else for free.
Haven't seen that one.
No,
I only get my veggies at the farmer's market.
well, I don't know.
Right.
Getting them out of a jar, and I don't mean they're fresh in a jar, they're
Yeah.
pills or something. And,
Oh, yeah, I know.
Oh, that kind of jar.
yeah,
I see.
and, the next thing they're coming with is, lab produced, meats and.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we're not gonna need any farmers pretty soon.
Yeah.
Feel
That's
just like meat right from the,
Right,
Yeah.
vision.
Yeah, it is, right, efficient.
and God only knows. Any other questions? Would you like to speak or?
If I know we're over time and I won't
Well,
take but a minute.
we still got a few minutes.
Is that right? Okay, well, hi everyone, my name's
I
Haley.
hate to turn somebody away, but at least it's driven here.
So I work as the local food coordinator for the Center for an Agricultural Economy based in Hardwick. I also manage the Hardwick Farmers Market. This was my past season, was my second season. I don't know that it makes sense for me to read the full testimony that I brought, which is from one of our most regular customers. She comes every week. But I do have a few printed and I'd be happy to include them in the folder.
Sure.
Hand them around. Yeah, I'm here very much in support of the Crop Catch and Crop Catch Plus program, which we saw double between the 2022 and 2023 season, just specific to our market. We're kind of in the heart of the Northeast Kingdom, very much agricultural land, considered sort of an underserved population in a lot of ways, heavily impacted by the floods. We had to cancel 2 prime season markets because Atkins Field, where the community garden and the farmers market happened, were inundated with water and not able to park there, et cetera. So a lot of what we've all been talking about resonates very much. I also, wanted to speak to the prepared food sort of question in that it, as we all sounds like we're in agreement on, it doesn't very much make sense. The two regular prepared food vendors that we have in our market, which is considered a sort of medium-sized, offer really healthy prepared foods. Generally, like a curried rice kind of Nepalese type food, and then more Mexican type food. So anyway, it's yeah, kind of mind blowing to me that someone could spend their SNAP dollars on a frozen pizza at the grocery store, but they can't come to the farmer's market and get a prepared meal that they can then share with the families at the market. So I also want to express, I guess, my support for the meals and prepared meals in restaurant. Sure, that's yeah, and like I said, I won't be through this whole thing.
You could leave us copies.
Yes, I'd be so happy to. And it's a friend of mine who wrote it, lovely woman who essentially just speaks to her experience of her and her husband are senior citizens, both disabled. They were eligible for 3 squares, then became aware of Crop Cash, and have since basically transitioned. Her husband was a type 2 diabetic, morbidly obese, who is now a vegan, shopping at the farmer's market, off his medications, total life transformation in a couple of seasons. Yeah, and they come every week. They're really lovely. So anyway, and please feel free to share our experience with others in any way which might help keep this wonderful program going. It would be great to see it available at farm stands for CSAs, et cetera, if it isn't already. So yeah, I will send this maybe around an email form too, since I'll leave a couple copies, but then you guys have it easily available for any questions or in the future.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. Questions from committee? Good?
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Good to see you. Thanks for everything you're doing.
We are. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
So, if maybe we'd like to find out.